Emily, so good to see you.
So good to see you
back in the MCU. I mean, Sharon's gone through a lot. And what's cool about this series is they're allowing the characters to really change. What was your take on her story?
I mean, also apologies for my dog barking. This is the new world we live in. I was very excited to see this new version of Sharon and to hear what they had in store for her when we initially spoke about, you know, where she's been. Because for me, I didn't want to just like hop back in like nothing happened. Obviously, we haven't seen her in several years. So when we discussed this new take on Sharon and kind of this new edgy version of the character, it made sense to me, and it was very exciting for me to get to dive into that. So.
For her, it's been many years since she's seen Sam and Bucky, but right away, she's kind of like picking up after them yet again. Like, isn't she sick of these guys by now?
Yeah, I think you get the sense of that when we see her with the boys initially, that that she's quite annoyed, but also they're kind of her ticket out. And as we see, you know, she's been stuck for a long time in this kind of world, hustling and doing her thing, and so she's sort of just tolerating at this point. I think that makes sense.
One of the really fun things about these series is that, you know, fans get to speculate on all sorts of things. Do you pay attention at all to everything that goes on the internet in terms of like where people think your character is going, who they think these characters are?
I mean, I hear things. I didn't grow up with the comic book world, if that makes sense. And so I'm always amazed at how knowledgeable some of these fans are, and I think it's amazing. I don't really have that, so like I'm amazed when people guess things and, you know, have these different theories. But in terms of keeping up, not so much. I kind of just like focus on my task at hand, and you know, it's such a massive universe to be a part of that. You know, my pool of knowledge is very, you know, Sharon centric, and just trying to keep up with that, if that makes sense. But, you know, there's always tons of theories and ideas and thoughts out there. And I think that's what makes these shows and movies exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're all nerding out over the shows and the movies, of course. You said you didn't grow up with the comics. Is there anything that you nerd out over? Like, are you a nerd for something in particular?
I'm a big fan of the zombie genre, if that surprises you at all. I've seen probably every zombie movie ever made. Big fan of The Walking Dead. What else do I love, like old 90s action movies, weirdly. Probably
that's perfect.
I've got my things.
So
but I never did.
Before we go really quick, then, considering you're such a fan of zombie movies, what is your top zombie film of all time? Is it new? Is it classic? How are we going here?
That's a tough one. The Dawn of the Dead remake was pretty amazing. But you know, there's a whole thing between fast moving zombies and slow moving zombies, and whether or not, say, like 28 Days Later is a zombie movie or not, which is one of my favorites, but it's not technically a zombie movie. So anyway, I could totally geek out on you here. But that's a tough one for me. But
we're gonna need a whole other
28 Days Later zombie movie, I would maybe say that, and 20 Weeks Later, both phenomenal, or some of the old classics.
I'm so glad we got to that today. Emily, thank you so much for the time. Great seeing you.
Thank you. Bye.
All the best.